Hello, and thank you so much for joining in live. So, here it is. Here we are. Another day of life here on this earth in a body. Here we are as immortal souls, finding ourselves in these very mortal, these very mortal bodies. What shall we do with our time? What are we doing here? What's going on? Well, these are some of the questions I look forward to spending a little time addressing. So, first and foremost, I can't say first and foremost, but one of the fundamental things that's so essential for my sanity as I go throughout the day is the recognition of my need for God. Now, a metaphor for this could be food and drink and sleep. We just kind of take it as a matter of course that as human beings, well, those are things we absolutely need. But what are the other things? Are there any other things we absolutely need as human beings? Well, yes, actually, air. So we've got air, food, water. We need the temperature to be right. if it's too hot or too cold, these bodies literally can't live. Okay. Any other basics? Well, above and beyond that, there's many things we like, many things that we prefer, and is there anything else that we absolutely need? Well, from a spiritual point of view, there is. You know, these bodies are designed to take in air, to take in food and drink, and they literally only survive within a certain temperature range. So, but is there something else? What I've come to realize is that just as we were designed to have all those, to live on all those things, there's one other thing we're designed to live on. There's different ways of saying it. Connection to God, communion with God, taking in the divine energy. It's written that Christ said to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. I never really was able to fully understand what that meant until I started studying the teachings of Bruno Gröning, a very simple man who I consider to be the greatest Christian of all times, meaning that he lived the teachings of Christ and was quite very Christ-like in his own way. He would say things like, to be connected to God, that is everything. He would say, you have a mandatory obligation. You have the German word is Schuldigkeit, which means to put your whole being into an endeavor. So he said you have a mandatory obligation and a calling to put your whole being into taking up this sense of connection to God. Said very simply, to dedicate your whole life to being in connection to God and to serving that, to being in service, to following. Another way to say it is to seek to know and to do God's will. So these are a bit abstract ideas. What does it actually mean in day-to-day living to do these things? Well, to be connected to God, Bruno Gröning taught a very simple practice of observing the body with the intention to take in, absorb divine energy. And it's very simple. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor. Hands on your legs, palms facing upwards. Back, not leaning against your chair, if possible. And then please close your eyes. And now hand over to your understanding of the divine, your understanding of God or higher power. All circumstances, fears, resentments, things that you don't feel at peace about. And then hand over, separate yourself from all illness, everything not good, but specifically any physical illnesses. Really separate yourself from the idea that you even have any illnesses and entrust the care and healing of those to a higher power. Now put your entire attention on your healing and ask to receive the divine healing energy and observe your body, noticing what you feel. Taking in the good, noticing what you feel. Trusting that every sensation is healing happening. Noticing what you feel, taking this energy in. So if we had to effort to breathe, we would put a lot more time, energy, and attention on breathing. But breathing is, for the most part, just happens automatically. Now, my understanding of life, based on what Christ taught and what Bruno clarified for us, is that we need God. In some ways, we need God even more than we need air, because without the vital life force which God provides, our lungs wouldn't be able to even take in this oxygen. And so this brings us to the topic of humility. And here's what Bruno Grinning said on this. Whoever puts himself above others will be lowered, and it will happen in no time that he will be prostrate on the floor. So first of all, there's this very, very firm warning against putting ourselves above other people. In the other piece, Bruno Grinning spoke of himself and spoke of all of us as children of God, that we're to take on that attitude. So let's spend a little time and reflect on this. Do we really need God? And is this attitude of being respectful to the divine, recognizing our utter need on it? Let's really spend some time and reflect on whether that truly is a fundamental part of the spiritual path. Seeing ourselves as children before God. Taking in the good, observing the body, noticing what you feel, asking, is it true that I need God? I often talk about this topic, the need for God. Part of why I do is it's my understanding that it was a major theme that Bruno Gröning spoke of, and sort of a foundation, a fundamental idea. In fact, Bruno Gröning said, trust or confidence in the good, which is another way he spoke of his God, is the fundamental idea, the foundation of divine order. So if we want divine order in our lives, according to Bruno Gröning, we have to trust in God. And what does it mean to trust in God? Well, to really rely, to really have confidence in, and to continually look towards. Again, as human beings, we rely on air. That happens automatically, however. The spiritual path, we have to work at it a little bit. Now, I know many people on the different types of spiritual path, and I was one of them, and some extent I still am. Sometimes we just want an easy, quick fix. Well, according to Bruno Gröning, that's not quite how it works. He said, if you want to experience the divine, you have to strive for it. What kind of striving is he talking about? Well, I don't want to say first and foremost, but primarily watching our thoughts, cultivating faith, practice this art of taking in divine energy, not just when we're sitting and doing it, but throughout our lives. So so it's kind of this, on the one hand, it's a philosophical question, but on the other hand, it's a practical question. What level of importance to give God in our lives? Well, Bruno Gröning said it very simply. I am nothing. God is everything, he said. He said, what are we human beings without God? I say simply, nothing. So that's not just reliance on God, but it goes even deeper than that. Our very existence. We take some. I think human beings in general, and I know I'm one of them. I'm trying to break that habit. I take so much for granted. One thing we take for granted is our very existence, is the existence of anything. The fact that we exist, much less the fact that this world exists, this solar system, galaxy, this universe we live in, this unspeakably vast universe we live in. And now physicists are starting to theorize that this universe is just one of many universes. But regardless, what does all of this rest on? And that's, again, a very philosophical question. So how about our own existence, our own life? What does it rest on? For us to, we all want to be happy. How to find that? What brings that about? Well, according to Bruno Gröning, and I think he was just clearly expressing what Christ taught, it all boils down to one thing: our need for God. So let's really reflect for a little bit. Was Bruno Gröning just speaking of himself when he said, I am nothing, God is everything? Or was he sharing his own view, but also that his view applies to all of us, that all of us are utterly reliant on God. Let's take a little time and investigate and find out. Observing the body, trusting that every sensation is the divine at work in our bodies. Bruno Grinning said, "There is a saying that says it well. God's mill grinds slowly but surely. Naturally, it is a long battle, for the great turnaround is accompanied by a great adjustment of humanity and will tear it away from the power of bad habit, the rule of intellect, and from self conceit and all satanic qualities. Only in this way can salvation take place." So here Bruno's talking about, humanity as a whole, but what if he's also talking about our own individual, our own individual journey? That God is slowly but surely adjusting us, slowly but surely taking away, sometimes tearing away, bad habits, the rule of intellect, self conceit, all satanic qualities, meaning everything evil. And as this process goes on, so important to maintain faith. To maintain faith that, as Bruno Gurney said, the good will prevail. That ultimately we will be freed from all evil. And it can be a process. It can take time, or it will take time until it's done. And therein comes the need for real patience and for real trust and faith. All right, dear ones, I'm going to begin wrapping up. First of all, thank you to everyone who came and everyone who dropped by this video. And it's a very humbling topic to, as 21st century human beings, maybe it's been that way for all of recorded history, I don't know, but to really think that we can be independent and just do things on our own. But Christ and Bruno call us to the reminder that we absolutely not only need God's help, but we're literally designed, we're built to be in communion and then to be in service to the divine. So I'd like to thank everyone for dropping by, and I wish you a day of deep reflection on these topics and hopefully deep communion with the divine. Take care. Much love.